So today I just want to take a look at just getting your domain and hosting, free hosting for learning WordPress, logging into the WordPress dashboard, creating content and posting content. Using AI tools, without AI tools, doesn't matter. I'll just show you how you do that, and just some plugins that'll help improve your site. And I'll be showing it to you in a way that, like I said, if you already have a website and you're scared to go near it because you don't know, will you break it or whatever, I'm going to show you how to set up a full test site, not just a scale back one, but a full test site so that you could actually do this yourself. Okay. So the first thing, I don't know if you're familiar or not in terms of the fact that when you're setting up a website, you need to have both your website domain and you need to have hosting. Okay. Now, a lot of time you can buy both of those together. Okay. But you can buy them separately. So if, say, at the moment you're thinking, okay, I have a really good name for a domain name that I'd like, you can just go and register that, and it's very cheap. Okay, so there's loads of domain registrants, and I'll show you those in a minute. The one thing I'd say to you is if you are coming up with a name, a domain name for your website, if you've got a very large name for your company, try and confine it down so that you're not having a very large website name that people can't remember. Okay, so if there's a way to, now using acronyms can be a problem as well because people won't remember them. So you want something that ties in with your branding without it being too large. Okay. So you need to register your website name. You also need a hosting package. So to get a website up and running, you need both things, the domain name and the hosting. Okay. At longer time, you will get both together as a nice package and you get a discount on your domain name. Okay. So often when you go into these domain registrants and or hosting companies and try and put in you'll say whatever the domain name is that you want, they'll often offer you that for free, maybe for the first year or something like that. Okay, so when we go to Hosting Ireland, for example, or Black Knight, or one of the name an Irish companies here, Let's Host is another well-known Irish company for hosting, they'll give you these kinds of options and can often be very daunting to know what should I go with. So what I say to people, if you're in a small business and you're starting out, always go with the starter package because they'll always allow you to upgrade. Okay. They'll often advise you not to downgrade if you find that it's too expensive, but they can always upgrade for you. So they'll offer you a little bit, if say something happens that you realize your website's too slow, people are complaining, there's lots of tricks to tweak that as well. But you can always go starter package and move up. The reason I say that is because they'll offer you these nice starting packs like, oh, they're both $2.95 a month. But it's when you go to renew it that you realize the costs have gone way up. And these are just base prices. So you often find there's a lot more added onto that as well. Okay.
Your regular price in business is $12.99 per week.
Yeah.
$7.99.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they start the same.
Exactly, yeah. So for the first year, you get it nice and cheap, and then you go to renew it, and you're probably not using a lot of these features that are in the business package, but they'll tell you, oh no, you probably need it. Okay. So you can always go to departure, and then if things go wrong, or you find things are slow or whatever, they'll upgrade you. Okay. So that's probably a big tip I would say is just keep an eye out for what the renewal is going to be.
Yeah, you're right.
Sure, yeah.
Recording. Sorry, folks.
Yeah,
See if I have it nice and shiny afterwards. Okay, I'll get that and then just do something at the back as well, if that's okay. Sorry, no, we can book you.
Okay, no bother. So the other thing that commonly happens is WordPress hosting is listed as one of the hosting options, and it's often very expensive. You don't usually need to go for the WordPress hosting unless you find that you're doing some very fancy things with WordPress, or that maybe you just need it to be tweaking or running a little bit differently or whatever. Yes, the WordPress packages are particularly designed and running on servers that are nicely streamlined for WordPress, but you can always go with the cheaper option again because WordPress works on all of them. Okay, so that's something to be aware of. And unless you're using e-commerce, even if you're using e-commerce, you probably don't even need to go for that expensive package either. Okay. So starting out again for a very small business, you can still go with the 659. WooCommerce works on all of those. WordPress works on all of those. So just be aware of the terminologies that they're using, making you think that you can't use those. So the other thing then is if you are a small business, you're registering your domain name, make sure you register it yourself. So don't let somebody else register that for you, because that's your ownership. I've met with a lot of small businesses over the years where they think they own the name of their website, but when they go to renew it, or they're asked, a developer asks them to get access to their domain name, they don't actually own it really. Okay, so it's really important. It's like a title on a house. If it's a thing that somebody else registered for you, there's a whole process you have to go through, and it's contractual, where they have to reassign the domain name to you. So don't get caught out with that one. And even if, it's fine if a website developer is registering it for you, but you make sure that it's in your name and your email address is used. Okay, because you're then the official owner of it. And the other thing is to make sure you turn on auto renew each year, so that that domain name gets re-registered each year. So you've heard about We Are, one of the speakers earlier on, Sean Tobin. They're one of our sponsors for today, but it's a great website, great resources, and they have some really fantastic reports and insights up there. So go take a look at their website, and they'll also tell you how to register a domain name, in particular a .ie domain name. So there's an extra step or two involved with registering .ie. So you have to have certain proof things in place in order to register a .ie. Okay. And there's a list of some of the hosting companies that you can go and take a look at. So if you even go to hostingireland.ie, for example, now on your phone, you can see immediately you're able to look up a domain name, see if it's available, and look up their hosting packages. The other thing is, if you're doing this yourself, and even if you're not, even if you do have somebody developing the site for you, it's a good idea to find out, do you like the hosting company? Are they easy to talk to? If you like to pick up the phone and talk to somebody, is somebody going to answer the phone to you? If you like to use a chat facility or email or whatever way, are they getting back to you quickly? So just make sure that you're using a hosting company that you're happy with, and that they're actually going to give you the support that you want. Because sometimes what you'll be met with is, oh yeah, that'll cost you now €50 if you do that. And you don't want to be learning that after you've paid for your hosting and your domain name. So just make sure that they have good support. I'd recommend, probably if you're a small business in Ireland and Europe, you should probably go for the European-based hosting companies. That means that your data will be stored on European servers, which makes you more compliant than with GDPR. Okay, so go for the Irish or European ones is what I'd recommend. Now, that said, cost-wise and popularity-wise, there's some great ones, American ones like Hostinger, and a few others, and they are great to use, but just be wary of the data that you're storing on your websites in. And the next thing then is security. So SSL, I don't know if any of you have heard of that, but SSL is what often comes with the packages. Now, it might be an extra cost involved. Sometimes they'll give it to you free for the first year, and then you have to renew it. But basically what that'll do is make your website look like it's secure when somebody visits it, and it makes it secure if somebody's filling out a form. Okay, so if somebody's filling out a form on your website, you want to make sure that you're using SSL. If they're shopping, you absolutely have to have SSL. Okay, so anytime you're collecting data, you need to make sure that your website is secure. So this is an extra that comes with it, with instructions on how to put it onto your website. Okay. The next thing then that people often forget about, especially if they're doing a self-build, is backing up your website. So there's different options. Your hosting company can usually offer it as maybe it might be an extra. Sometimes they will include it. But you have to make sure that it's backed up regularly. And by regularly, I mean if your website is changing a lot frequently, you have to make sure it's backed up frequently. So every time you add content to your website, there should be backups taking place. So usually what we do is we set it so that it backs up at, maybe twice a week or 3 times a week. If it's an e-commerce site, it'll have to be a lot more than that. Okay. So some hosts offer this with the hosting package, and you can also add a plugin into your WordPress website. Whoops. Okay, so that brings me on then to the free one that I was telling you about that you can use yourselves. And basically you can go to this website, infinityfree.com. Now you can have a look at it on your phone today and sign up for it, but you probably need to be at a desktop to actually use it because you need a bit of screen space to actually work with it. So this option is good for learning how to manage a test website, and you can also install WordPress and learn how to use it. So it's a really simple way for you to actually test everything out. And the demo website that I have here has been set up on Infinity Free. Okay, and the next thing then is, I'm sure you're familiar with blogging and having to write posts and things like that. And you know that it's a great way to communicate with an audience. The problem is for a lot of small businesses is they have a blog area or a news area or events area on the website, but they're not updating it. And when people go to your website and see that something is 3 years old and it hasn't been updated, then they tend to think, oh, the website hasn't really been used much. It's probably not got, a lot going on in it. So having a regular posting habit is really important. And the best way you can do that is just having a plan in place, having keywords, key phrases, content, and a content plan that you're going to use each week over over a space of time. And the other important thing is to make sure that you're amplifying it on social media. So if you're writing a post, don't just leave it there. Put it onto Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever you need, and make sure you're driving people to your website. Because although while social media might be brilliant for engaging with people, you can control your website. So if you have people habitually coming to your website, seeing new content, they're more likely to come back again. Okay? And it also helps with your ranking. So I'm going to take a look at just that as well, just to make sure everybody knows how to do that. And I know you're all probably heard so much today about the different AI tools. ChatGPT is obviously a very popular one. And what I'd recommend you do is use ChatGPT maybe to set up the structure of your post and maybe generate some of the content, but put your own personal touch on it. Okay? Don't just dump it up into a post because it reads badly to people. They need to know there's a personal touch there. Yes, you can generate loads of AI images as well, but what I would say is use something a bit more personal if you can too. So get a combination maybe and just make sure that they look good together. So you can have some AI generated images, you can have photo stock images, but taking your own photos is often the best in terms of what people relate to. I think we're all getting a little bit cynical about the content that we're seeing now on social media because there's so many different companies using AI tools to generate their posts and to generate their images, and it's actually kind of exhausting trying to figure out, is it real, is it not? And we're not really engaging with it as much as they'd like to think we are. So I don't know if you're familiar with Pixabay, but that's a free photo stock site, and you can get some nice photos on there. The only issue is that lots of people will be using those photos, so just be aware of that. And Canva/AI will allow you to generate AI content. Okay. The other thing then as well is learn how you can get the best out of your ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you're using. So save your prompts and work on them. So come up with strategies for, just the same as you would with keywords for your website, key phrases for your organization. Come up with prompts that actually work for you and keep engineering them. So keep coming up with things that make them better and better so that you're getting what you want out of it. Okay, the other thing then is the plugins for your website. So this is really where you get great functionality into your website. So the plugins that come with WordPress will allow you to put a lot of different new features onto the site. So things like galleries, displaying your social media, so you can have your user-generated content on your website by using some of these tools. So if I just take a look at the interface there, this is in WordPress, and this is just some of the more popular plugins that you might have. So Yoast, for example, is used a lot, and it'll help you with tailoring your words on your website. So it'll automatically prompt you with words that are good for using and relation to the particular content that you post. Elementor up there on the left, any of you heard of Elementor? Yeah, so Elementor is a really, really popular page builder. And it's great for actually just structuring your pages. Even though WordPress has become better itself at helping us structure pages. Contact forms, WooCommerce, any of you use WooCommerce? Yeah, so WooCommerce is probably one of the most popular e-commerce plugins for WordPress, and probably one of the most popular in general, because it's very easy to use. It's made deploying e-commerce so much simpler for us. So you can literally install that, add a payment system to it, just making sure your website is secure, and just upload any products that you have for sale. And we have other ones there like Google Analytics, so that would just help you with making sure your website is working very well, and these anti-spam ones as well. So the Elementor one. And this is another one that's actually can be really good for anybody that wants to do scheduling online or booking appointments. And again, very easy to install and deploy onto your website. And you can add costs to it and all the rest of it. This one is good for if you want to use WhatsApp, and you can tailor it as well to suit whatever way you want it to work on your website. So setting up hours and things like that. And here's another one then that you can actually, if you have, say, a form that people frequently fill out and you really need to gather the information from them, you can actually train this to ask them the questions and step them through it. Okay. And NextGen is an example of a gallery that you can use. And this one I highly, highly recommend if you want to do backup for your website. So it's very easy to get onto your website, and it'll just make sure that you have that backup in the event that something happens to it. Okay. Now, this one I love as well, because if you are doing blogging on your site, you want to make sure that it's moderated. So you want to make sure you're getting a warning if somebody's putting rubbish up onto your site and putting comments up onto under your posts. So there's other things you can do on your WordPress website to make sure that you don't have any offensive material, offensive comments being put up there. But this one is fantastic for catching any comments that go up there that shouldn't be there, and it'll warn you. If you're using it for personal use, you can use it for free. So again, when you do the test website, you can actually see that. Okay, I got to watch my time now because I do want to show you this part. This one I do recommend, but you'd have to go for the paid version if you're going using it. But it's great for displaying user-generated content on your website. So if you are using Instagram a lot, why not make it work for you on your website? So bring it into your website instead of sending people off to Instagram, because we know ourselves, all these algorithms, our stuff is getting suppressed. We have no control over it, but if we harness it and bring it into our website, then everybody gets to see it, and it's not disappearing in people's feeds. Okay, so I just want to show you then, I'm going to flip over here. So this is infinityfree.com. You literally just have to set up an account with them. Okay, and when I go in here, now this is me logged in, I actually have 2 websites set up here. Okay, and it just took me a few minutes to do that. All you have to do is, to get started, is create an account, and select their free option. Okay, they do have paid version as well if you wanted to go there. But when I go into create now, I just have to put up with the ads. That's fine. And it's going to check and make sure that I'm a human. Yes, I am. And then I can set up a domain name here. Now, it's not a primary domain name, so it wouldn't be like digitalwest.ie. It's going to be a secondary domain. Doesn't matter because you're only using it for test. Okay, I don't recommend that anybody would use something like this for their actual website because we don't have a contract with them, which means if something goes wrong with the website, they could just delete your account overnight. So literally just for testing purposes, you'd be doing this. So I'm just going to go test Mayo site and I'm going to pick one of these. Doesn't matter which one I pick. I'll just go for something that free.nf I tend to like. So check availability and it's telling me it is available. So I can just go ahead and do my approval and create my account. Okay, now with these, it does take a little while for the site to get up and running. So I'll just flip back to my, not register. I am logged in. So if I just take a look at the one I already have set up here, so that's this one here, and I have a few options here. For you guys, if you're setting up your WordPress website, you just go into this script installer and you set up WordPress. Okay, takes a few minutes. I'm not going to run through it now because I already have it set up on here, but all you have to do is give it a name. If you leave it as default, that's fine. You can change that later. And you add in an admin user. I always put in my initials and name. You give it a password and you use your email address and so on. And you click on install. And within a couple of minutes, you will have a website up and running. And I'll just show you this website because I've nothing done with this website. It's this one here. So that's what you get. Doesn't look like much. Doesn't look like much at all. But within half an hour, I can have something like this up and go. Okay. And it might look impressive, but all I've done is I've just used themes and I've added a bit of my own content into it. I've added a few tabs in here, a few pages, and I have what looks like a fairly impressive website anyway, in a few minutes. Okay, so if I go back and, so that one is working away there. So if I go back and take a look at this website here, how do I get to the administration? So that's the website address, and then I simply put in wp-admin. Now WordPress tells you this when you're installing it. A sheet will come up. Oh, I didn't save the password for this one now and I've set it up, so I don't actually know how to log into this one right now. That's the first rule I was going to tell you of when you're setting up your website. Keep a record of the login ID and password, okay? I doubt if this is going to work because I just went with their default one and it was for this other website that I have here, okay? So what do I do with that event? I just go ahead and click on the lost my password, but I'm not going to bore you with me doing that right now. So that gets you into the back end. So this is what it's going to look like in the background. Are some of you familiar with this view here? Yeah? Okay. So what do you find daunting when you look at this view here? Is there anything that you find difficult to do? The themes.
Change it one page. So if you want to do a landing page, you have to get another token.
Yeah.
Then create it. Otherwise, you change the whole website.
Exactly. So what Ingrid is just saying there is once you pick a theme, you're kind of locked into that theme and you have to work pretty hard to create another page that doesn't have the features of that theme there. So you can use page builders to help you out. And a lot of the times with themes, you're very limited if you don't pay for it. So they won't allow you all the features. So that can be often a lot of the limitations and the struggles that we have when we're working with WordPress behind the scenes. But what do I mean by a theme then? So when I look at my website here, it's dressed it up nicely. It's made it look really good. If I change the theme, so I just look at this one here and I go to live preview here, I can see that my website is going to look very different. So when I pick a theme, depending on the one I pick, some of them will put a lot of pre-filled content in here that you can just go ahead and change and edit. And others will just give you kind of a slightly fancier version of what we already have. So it's good to check those out and test them before you decide on one and before you start adding content, because once you do start adding content, it's difficult to go back and change all that again. Now, if it's a thing then that I want to, so I'm not going to go with that theme there. If I did, I would just click on activate. But if I want to add a page to this website here and I want a new menu option there, I can just go to pages here and add a page. And it looks just like a word processor from here. Okay, so once I add a page, I can add blocks in here, and depending on what kind of plugins I've added in, I might have additional options. So for example, I did add a gallery, so I can add a gallery in here. WordPress has its own gallery. I can also add things like podcasts in here, links to videos, spacers, so if I want to space out things on the page, and there's all these extra little features like calendars, so things that can make the page look really nice and professional. And like I said, there's so many plugins you can add to that as well, just to make it look extra good. So if I just go even with my gallery here and I click on add, now I've got a pre-made gallery in this, so I would have to set this up in advance. Now it's a free version, so I don't get to do any of the pro stuff there. I just literally have to work with whatever they will give me. And once I click on publish here, I'm going to see that appear in my navigation. So I click on refresh here, and there it's appearing. Okay, not all the themes will do that. Sometimes you have to manually add that in, but so that's why picking a good theme helps you just make things a little bit easier. Now I don't.
Is it just Next Gallery?
Oh, I'll show you that in a second. Yeah, it's Next Gen. It's called. Yeah.
I teach WordPress in Vitas and Tune.
Oh yeah.
And one of the problems I find is that you could start off using the 2020 or 2024 themes, which are really easy to use.
Yeah.
But then if people kind of start going a bit rogue, and they're like, oh, she's brilliant, like I love it when you do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But then the difference in menus and whatever, like your menus then can be, well, where are the menus in the next theme? And am I using my menus here? Am I using my menus to a different place on it? And it can get quite confusing for people then after a while.
You're absolutely right, and it's really hard, especially if you're trying to teach this and you're there looking, where is that thing gone to? So usually what I would do is I'd start off with the very basic one. I say that to Ollie, just even without those themes, just use the WordPress theme to learn WordPress, because it complicates things so much. I suppose I'm just showing you the fancy stuff, so if you wanted to make something fancy with the website, I definitely would recommend just start off with WordPress theme and learn that and figure out, where do things go? How do I put things in place? I know anybody that's done websites with me, they say, oh, it's so frustrating because I'm trying to put it there and it's not going there and it's moving over there. And that's the nature of responsive design. So that's where we run into problems. Yeah, I'll show you that plugin now in 1 second. And if I just decide though then that I, let's see now, where is, oh, I'm in this page here. Hold on. So if I just decide that I don't want that page appearing anymore, I'm going to change it back to a draft again. Okay, so that way it's going to go from the front of my site because I don't want it there. Okay, so it will in a second. Always takes a second for that, but I know that it's gone anyway because it's back at publish again. What happens sometimes though is that this is cached, so I have to kind of flush it out before it'll go away in a minute. Okay, so I can go back here to WordPress, and the other thing I just want to show you is the plugins here. So the plugins that you were asking me about there, that one is called NextGen Gallery. And if I go to add a plugin, I have the world of plugins available to me here. How do I figure out which one I'm going to use? I usually look up other blogs and see what are people using, what's good at the moment, what's easy. Then I try it out on my test website and see, is it good? Is it working okay for me? Before I put it onto my actual website, because some of them can conflict with each other. So if, for example, I'm using Elementor and I try to install another page builder plugin, it can cause problems with my website, and it can actually cause your website to fail. So if I put in gallery in here, this one is the one I installed. Quite an easy one. It's a nice few features for free. And when I go in and look at this, I look to see what do people think of it. So what's the rating of it? And you know, is it installed? Do a lot of people have it installed? And has it been updated recently? So there's a lot of installations. It was updated in the last 6 months, which is good because WordPress is updating all the time. And I can also get a look at the screenshots and see, okay, yeah, that looks kind of nice. Okay, I'll go with that. Okay, that's how I decide. The other one I mentioned there was the backup. And the backup that I'd recommend is this one here. Now, I'm just saying that I've used a lot of other fantastic backups there, but this one has some nice features for free. And you can see it's got a lot of active installations there and a lot of 5 stars too. So once I install it, I then activate it and that'll make it available to me. So once it's available, I'll see it come up here in my dashboard. And it's prompted me there.
On a separate server into where you're hosting your original.
Yeah. So you can actually back it up to like a cloud service like Dropbox, for example, or Google Drive or something like that. And that's really important. So what I'm being asked there is, does it back up somewhere else? You don't want it to be in the same location as your actual files, because if something happens to your website, you're going to lose everything, including the backup. Okay, so what you do is you make sure that it's backed up somewhere else. Okay, so if I take a look at here, we've got the backup now, and it asks me, what do I want to include? Your website consists of 2 different sets of things. It has a database, which is a MySQL database, and it has files. So that's what we would see in our file manager. You need both of those backed up. So when I click on backup now, it usually gives me some options somewhere.
I think you have to go to settings first.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there we go. So these are the different options. Now, this one would be for the premium one, but you can link it to these other ones and use that for your backup. Okay. Now, if I back it up onto my website like I did there, because I didn't do the settings, I can just download that as well. But it's very important to keep your backup separate from your actual storage space itself. Okay. That's the Bookly plugin that I showed you there before, that I showed you in the screenshots. And again, very easy to install, and you can just set it up so that you have the names of people. So I'll just show it to you on the website itself. I think I put it into this features page. Test just isn't going away there for me. So this one, again, few minutes it took me to do this. I didn't set up a category, but I did set up a service here and an employee and their costs and when am I going to be available as a customer. So I can just say, oh, I'm only available on Thursday and finish by 1. So somebody can book then through the website, and you can set up the hours that you're of availability for those bookings. So that's just one example. There's loads of ones you could find, something that's kind of tailored to what might suit you. I know that was a very fast run through, but I don't want to hold you too long. Is there anything else that you want me to show you? I was going to show you posts, but it's very similar to pages. And I suppose the important thing is that with ChatGPT or any of these AI generators, you can get some great content for blogs to allow you to get started and then hone it in. Think about your keywords. When you're doing your posts, just make sure that you're directing them properly so that you're getting the best out of the posts. You know, when you're making posts, you might as well make sure you're getting your search engine optimization into that as well. Now, I don't have Yoast installed here, but I would recommend putting something like Yoast on there to help you with that. But very simple things like categories and tags will help people find your posts, okay? And then when you're doing your social media posts, make sure they match that, okay? And just like I showed you with the page that didn't leave the cache there, it's very easy to publish and unpublish something. So if you make a mistake, if you publish something that wasn't ready to go, so I can go off and view my post here. And there it is in my blog. But if it's a thing that I'm not happy with it, I can very quickly unpublish that as well. So there's my status. I can also set it to be scheduled. So if I wanted to go out on a Friday evening or a Monday morning or whatever, I can schedule that. If I don't want people to see it, unless they have a password for whatever reason, I can do that as well. So I can change this back to draft and save that, and that'll take it off the website for me. Okay. Anything you want to know about adding content onto the pages or anything onto the posts or anything like that?
Use Canva.
Yeah, so Canva here, and this is the Canva AI version. So I just put in, I just said, look, will you create a moisturizer product for this fake website that I've made there? And it came up with some content for me. It pretended, you know, that I had a moisturizer, and it came up with some images as well for me. So I can download those images and just add them then onto the website. So if I just go to plus image, upload, and I just grab that image. Now I would rename that image before I'd upload it. It's always good to put a proper name on an image. Again, that's important for search engine optimization. Okay. So put a dash between words. So like I did on a dash moisturizer, and that way the search engine can read it much better rather than having it all one word or underscore. For some reason, I don't know why it doesn't read the underscore.
Sorry,
So
if you're doing a search, do you do a full stop or a gap between words, or
if I'm doing a search, if I was doing a search in
Canva or Google or anything like that?
so if do you mean for images, is it? And yeah, well, Google's got much better anyway at recognizing images, but what I found is that if you name your images correctly, it's easier for it to find it. Now with AI, we don't have the same problems as we did a few years ago. So no, you don't have to worry about it putting, is it dots? Oh, the plus and all that. Yeah, not so much anymore. No. I mean, sometimes it can have, but less and less now because the algorithms are better at doing those searches. But naming things, and if you have a portrait image, for example, put your name on the portrait image. Okay, so I would put Sharon-Boyle-ATU, for example, and that'll hit all of those searches then. Okay. So if one tip to take away from you is definitely make sure you're naming your files correctly. So a few little things: own your own domain name, learn how to manage your own website, use Infinity free now when you go away. Sign up for that and get your website up and going. Post regularly and use social media posts to direct the traffic to your site. Use those plugins, so use those social media plugins on your site. Don't be sending them off to social media. Get them back to your website because you can control it. Use keywords and phrases in your posts, and really big caution on installing plugins onto your main website. Okay, only do it if you're sure you know what you're doing. Okay, those plugins, they're lovely, and even that little chat there in the corner, they're all great, but they can cause problems, and some of your themes will have recommended plugins to go with them. So look for those and see what do they recommend works with their particular plugin.
I mentioned too, like the more plugins you have, it goes down to your site and it slows it down too. So for anyone that it's a very good tip that if you go wild and add 10 and suddenly, well, it's taking 10 seconds to load my website and you're wondering why.
Yes.
That is a big factor. People do get excited, start adding loads. So
yes, so that's why the test website is good. But yeah, as soon as you know you're not going to use a plugin, remove it. Because first of all, it's going to slow down your website. Secondly, it's also a possibility, it could be a hacking point for your website as well. So there are plugins. I suppose another thing I should say to you, I'm sorry now, you're probably exhausted after the morning, but you'll see notices coming up about plugins being updated. Make sure you're updating your WordPress and the plugins if they're not auto updating. A lot of them auto update or turn on auto updates, and that will make sure then that you have the most up-to-date plugins. Okay, there's also plugins, I just mentioned this, there's also plugins to make your website run faster. So there's ones called Content Delivery Networks, or CDN. And what they will do is actually when you, oh, sorry, I don't have them on here. I'll add a plugin here. And if I put in CDN, for example, even speed up your website or whatever, these will actually get your pages to load quicker. So they're a buffer zone between your website and the user, and they just speed things up. Okay, no problem. Smush is another one to compress down images. So if you're putting images up the way I did there without compressing them first, which I should have, you'll find that it's going to overload your website and overload the page loads. So you can use this to actually squish them right down. Okay.
Do the plugins have different subscriptions and prices?
The different prices. Yeah, they do. Now the ones I'm showing you, you can use them a lot of the features for free. And you may outgrow them and you may not, Elementor, for example, has a lot of great features for free, but I find a lot of people do outgrow them fairly fast because they need some of the features that they always hold back the good stuff, Yeah. But the backup one, you can definitely do your backups without having to pay for it. But if you're a small business, I really highly recommend you pay for your backup, no matter what it is, because that is really important for you to have a well-running backup. Okay, so certain things I'd say you need to pay for. Other things, try them for free until you run out of, grace with them.
You don't get free for a certain size, or can you have any size?
Oh, it depends on what it is. So a lot of them, it's for features. So they'll give you a certain amount for free, and then they'll. So if I looked at my theme, for example, there that I had, it's it's working fine for me. But I can see that I'd actually, if I want to unlock other features, I would have to upgrade it. So I can change a lot. You can see there's a lot of things I can change there, but there'll be certain things then that I might want to really customize, and it's often workarounds, but it's too hard. The gallery, for example, it's very basic gallery, but so if I want something that looks really smooth and fancy, then I would have to pay for the plugin. Yeah.
Same with the Oathful line, because it works free for the most part, but
Yeah.
they've introduced the AI features, so you need to pay for the amount of extensible plugin if you want to access any of the AI features or things like that.
Yeah.
So you get enough, as you say, Sharon, with the free versions. It's just then
A lot of the AI stuff, though, yeah, they're charging for the AI stuff. I was surprised actually how much Canva give for free there, but because a lot of them are charging if they have the AI. And I imagine that will change. They'll probably give us a little bit more. Which is important. It allows us to dabble around and see what do we like and what works for us. Great, thank you guys. It was really interesting meeting you all.